what's going on? Coach Luke here. So what I wanted to do today was cover our, at least put it this way, in a decent amount of detail, our orientation. So think first of all, what is our orientation? We do a couple orientations a week for any new person that's coming in. So meaning, if they're any type of trial that they're doing, whether they join, it's a foundational thing that they have to attend. Even if they do a strategy session with the coach, a one-on-one strategy session, and they're doing semi-private training, we're always doing orientation. So pretty much a person cannot start without orientation. Now here's why. First of all, imagine this idea of, somebody comes in, you don't know what their health history is, you don't know how they move, you don't know their background, their training, any of that stuff, and you just go, hey, I just jump into the next high intensity interval class, right? I mean, it's like, whoa, that's probably not the greatest of ideas. So our orientation, one is introducing people to what we do, how we do it, why we do it, our philosophies, right? Like bigger picture stuff, not just the training, but everything. And I'll go over it with you guys in a little bit about what we talk about, like literally what we go through. But it's also like an assessment in the group. So we usually won't have a bigger group than 10. Mostly it's like anywhere from about 4 to 5 people. And we get a lot of time with that person, like finding out a lot of things about them, why they're there and so on, which we'll cover in a second. But mostly it's like, as we're going through teaching them certain exercises, teaching them progressions and regressions in the main lifts, guess what we do? We're able to see how they move, what's going on, do they have any nagging things going on? We're able to dig deeper, because even when people fill out health history forms, a lot of times once you go through this orientation and you're assessing them and you see some shifting of the hips, and you'll be like, hey, what's going on with that right? Oh, I broke my femur. And you won't, you can't imagine how much stuff people leave out, but then it comes up as you're going through the orientation. So it's, first of all, it's just, the most ethical thing to first, I would say create a frame and create an assessment of some sorts and help people understand before they even move into class what things should be like. Meaning, hey, if there's a lift that they shouldn't do, but there's a different one that they can do that's gonna be best for them, right? So these are the things that we do in orientation. It's literally like, why do we do what we do? How we're going to help them out? How we do those things, right? What are the things that we do? And then just teaching these foundations and creating a frame. Remember, like you can never assume and judge people when they come through the door about what their experience has been, what they've done, what they know, any of that stuff. So you gotta get to know them as well as you possibly can. And then also, like, we teach like what our philosophies are, because most people, like when they come from our orientation, it's like, whoa, I thought I was just coming in to do some drills and this, that, the other. This is like really mind-opening to how you guys approach fitness and transformation. And so that's the whole point of it. Okay, so as we go through this today, like, this is a tagline that I wrote, and it's gonna be on the new site. Don't you dare steal it, then. TM. But hey, we hope you build a better body so you can write a better story to your life, right? So think about this, like, why do I train? Why does somebody train? Why does somebody, get into improving their health, fitness, nutrition? Because there's something that you want, right? And that was something maybe is like, hey, maybe I want to get out of pain. Maybe I want to build more confidence. Maybe I want my body to be more powerful, and not just mean like powerful, like more, like able to do more stuff. Whether it's like play with my kids, go hike mountains, play basketball with my friends. Hey, be confident enough to take my shirt off on the beach. Be able to pick up my grandkids because my back's hurt and I can't do that, right? Like you're trying to write a better story to your life. We all are seeking to improve our lives, and honestly, the temple of everything that we do is our body. So that is kind of like our tagline, because hey, we just had, when the Seahawks, come in. He wants to feel better, perform better, not get injured again, right? We had a goalie from Rain FC, the pro soccer team, who tore her Achilles. Like, guess what she wants to do? She wants to rehab to 100% and then some, right? But then, hey, listen, we got Lori, and she wants to be able to feel better and live as long as possible while being able to do as much stuff as possible. Hey, we got some people that are like, hey, I want to lose 40 pounds and get lean and bring my confidence back, have more energy at work and at home, right? What your story is, that's not for me to say, but here's the thing, right? Most people allow another person to write the story of their life. They take, you got to take that pen back. That's what we talk about. Take the pen back and write the story of your life yourself. And so taking control of your body, of your habits, is one of those things. So, I always say, like, hey, you know what our job description is? Like, my job description is coach. just like our coaches. What does a coach do? And we'll ask, you know, the people in orientation, hey, what does a coach do? You'll get all types of different, you know, answers. You know, most of the time somebody will be like, oh, you know, maybe take you from point A to point B. But it's like, no, not only that. The meaning of it is, like, remember, a coach comes from the word stagecoach, right? The stagecoach will take you somewhere. That's why you even hear now in like airplanes, like, hey, ride coach, right? A coach takes you from where you are to where you want to go. Where you are to where you want to go. So as coaches, our job description is to take you from where you are to where you want to go. That is what the meaning of what we do. That is our job description. And the key here is, like, and this is a conversation. When we start orientation, we ask the person, hey, what made you come here? Like, what made you reach out to us? Tell me a little bit more about, like, what is the goal that you want to achieve, right? And then people will start, you know, sharing their goals, and some will be a little bit more surface, and some will be a little bit deeper. If they're surface, I'll usually ask, why does that matter, right? Because I want to get to the root of the reason why they're there. Because usually if it's a surface thing, I always share at the beginning, say, guys, listen, unless you have a powerful anchor to your goals, a deep meaning to your goals, when shit gets hard, you're not going to do it, right? But if it's a powerful anchor, and I'll share one of them, and I won't say, you know, names or anything like that, but, you know, one person, this is so embedded in my mind, a lady that came to an orientation and said, hey, like, you know, I ran after my kid. He was running towards the street, and I started running after him. I literally couldn't. I was out of breath. I was so exhausted that I could not physically run after my child. And thankfully, luckily, he didn't run into the street. But I could not do anything to stop it because I physically could not do it. So that was like this moment of like, oh my God, like I have to change something. I have to change this. This should not happen. And guess what? That anchor was so powerful that, you know, that person not only ended up, you know, going through that trial, but signing up and having a really good result, like really big transformation, losing over 60 pounds, like changing their life. Like the anchor was there. So we talk about that because, hey, we could just go like, all right, guys, we're gonna take you through some exercises and da-da-da, and you're gonna try us out and yay. Like, no, like we gotta create the frame and the story around why they're there. And so, you know, the kicker is that from there I go like, all right, guys, listen, so do you think that information is enough? You know, some people will be like, well, no, right? Why not? Why do you think it's not enough? Well, because how do you put it into play, right? So you get all these different answers. And so I go like, okay, guys, let's do a test on nutrition. All right, let's do a little bit of test on nutrition. If you guys think it's a food that's gonna help you lose weight, get leaner, be healthier, you say good. If it's a food that you believe is not the best food for you to get you to your goals, you say bad. Okay, cool, let's do this drill. And I'll say, hey, broccoli, good, you know, lean ground beef, good, fish, good, avocado, good, right? And I'll keep saying different foods, and I'll go like, all right, guys, cookies, bad, chips, bad, right? And they'll start obviously saying like bad, this, that, the other. Now, first of all, I don't believe there's any good or bad foods, but that's a conversation for another time, for another vlog. But the point of it is that at the end I say, awesome, guys, you know your shit, you're good to go, out of here, you know, and everybody will usually laugh. But the point is I'm trying to make is like, see, we have the information. There's actually more information than there's ever been. But what we need is to take this information, create integration into our lives, and that is what creates transformation, right? Without integration, there is no transformation. So, and actually there's more confusion than ever. 160,000 plus diet books. I think that's the number now. Right, everybody do this, high intensity, this. So we're trying to distill this down and go like, our mission is to help you take the information, education, and we will educate you and integrate it into your life and sustainably so it stays for good, so that you have a transformation that sticks. Okay, that's our mission, right? That's our mission. And from there, you know, that's the thing, it starts opening eyes, like the frame, like shit, man, I do know what to do. Why don't I do it? And I say, that's the magic, that's behavior change, habits, change psychology, environments, right? And so from there, I start explaining about how important it is to be in a circle, in an environment of people that uplift you, because we are tribal, we're social creatures, tribal creatures. And so we adhere to the standards of the tribe, right? So if the tribe is fit and working hard and working on their nutrition and supporting each other, then you too will be pushed towards that. Now, if the tribe goes out and drinks a lot, needs fast food, and that's what they do, you now are pulled towards that because you don't want to be expelled. You don't want to be socially pushed out of the tribe, right? This is how our brain works, right? So when I'm explaining this, because now it's opening the eyes of like, man, like, shit, maybe this is more than a gym. This is more than like, I thought we were just gonna do lunges and squats. And it's like, oh shit. But now from here, see, this is where I want to take them and go like, okay, what are some of the things, guys? And I'll ask, what are some of the things that you feel will help you change your body, right? And people say nutrition, my training. Some people might even say sleep, which is a really great one, right? But what I then share with them, like, hey, there's so many factors that influence your life. Now let's look at this. And so this is what I call the success wheel, right? The success wheel is, imagine this wheel, and in the center of the wheel, which you need to have that center for stability, is what I call the code. These are our values. Now, if you have a gym, or if you have anything, the values support everything. Now, so if in your gym, you would have your values. I'm not gonna go over our values today because, once again, we don't have time for reasons of sticking to orientation and how we do this. But the values are the center, the core. You know, like I said, if your values are radical honesty, if they're Kaizen, constantly improving and growth, teamwork, loyalty, whatever those things may be, making sure that the client's day, when the client is here, that's the best part of their day, right? That can be a value, that can be a principle and philosophy. But the whole point is, like, this is the core of it all. Now, and then from that, we have spokes, right? So to me, these are the spokes that drive transformation. And I'm gonna go, like, here's the thing, because this is what I'm talking to the group, 2 people, 5 people, 10 people. So strength is important, right? To build strength, because guess what? Strength maintains muscle, allows us to do, it's actually what I call the big glass, right? So if you wanna be more conditioned, more powerful, more this, more that, guess what? The glass is strength. The water is all the properties in it. It's power, endurance, strength, endurance, this, that, the other, right? If you want more and of any property, you gotta get stronger. So getting stronger is important. Power is important. Even though people go like, well, I'm just trying to lose fat. Why does power matter? Well, guess what? How fast you produce force activates more muscle fibers is great. It's also great for fat loss, but it's great for muscles. It's also great for, hey, if you fall, power is one of the first things we lose when we age. You're able to be more athletic. And we believe that you're an athlete. You're an athlete. If you can move, you're an athlete. If you're human, you're an athlete. You're an athlete of life. Lean muscle is important. Okay, you want to get leaner? Guess what? The more muscle you have, the higher your metabolism is going to be, right? So losing muscle is the worst thing that you can do if you're trying to be lean, athletic, look a certain way, look good, perform good. Then cardio, which once again, we'll do a whole nother vlog on like what cardio and energy systems are, but cardio is important for health, not just for, hey, burning calories. It's great for recovery. It has a place for burning calories too, although not as important as you think. But it's very important for health and longevity. Nutrition, obviously, you want to change your body, nutrition is a key component of it. Recovery is exceptionally important. Recovery means everything from, and here's the thing, these are interconnected, right? Recovery is important because nutrition is recovery, sleep's recovery. Like slower stress is recovery, right? Relaxing, meditation is recovery. Stress, obviously, hey, how much stress do you have in life? We get people that are stressed out of their minds and then want to train 6 days a week. That's not gonna get you the best results, right? We gotta figure that out. Sleep, obviously massive. Environment, your people, hey, are you around people that stress you out a lot? And what I said, are you around people that drag you into a direction that you don't think is the best for your life? That's gonna be big, right? Movement, joint health, this is math. All foundation of movement lies on the foundation of, I would say, how well your joints move. This is why we have mobility classes, and I'll talk about that in a little. But the point of that is that, like, I'll go around and say, hey, do you think that's important? And I'll ask questions, so this will be interactive. How do you think that your environment and people around you are important when it comes to your transformation? You know, and then the thing is, now we're starting to get answers. Well, man, like, I don't really have the most supportive group of people around me. Tell me a little bit more about that. Right now we're interacting. Now they're starting to see how everything affects everything, okay? And so the way that I show this to them too is there's always some form of assessment, right? So if I go here, because how do I know what's happening? Well, I have to assess it. It's easy to think about strength. Hey, you can deadlift 150 pounds. After 12 weeks, now you can deadlift 250 pounds, right? We're assessing, you're getting better. Muscles, same thing. We can do an in-body test and see exactly what your lean muscle is. Cardio, Whether heart rate monitoring, your heart rate drops, or we do certain tests, we know, right? Nutrition, we can tell. What are your macros? Or maybe it's just like habitually. Let's look at your meal plan. Let's look at what you're doing on a daily basis. MyFitnessPal, whatever else it may be. Same thing with recovery. Stress might be one of those things where you're just like, hey, I feel less stressed out. Like I've organized my life more. I'm more structured. I'm not all over the place, right? Sleep is pretty simple to track. So is joint health. We can do tests to see if you're moving better and your joints are healthier. The point is that like we got to assess stuff to see if it's getting better. And this is what drives habits. Because essentially all of these things are driven by habits. And like that's a big word, right? There's currently habits that you're doing that are taking you away from where you want to be. Most likely, which is why you came here. And you want to create habits that are taking you towards where you want to go. Right now, this whole thing can start looking very, very like, oh my God, there's a lot of stuff going on. And we say, hey, look, I just want you to think of it in this 4 ways. So mindset, training, nutrition, and recovery. Like these 4 main components. And I call it like, I got this from Mark Verstegen, it's like every day is game day, right? In the game of life, every day is game day, right? You can't go like, hey, I got a game on Sunday and the rest of the week I'm just not, not gonna do anything. No, like every day you're practicing these 4 different things and improving those 4 different things. Now you say like, hey, in no particular, is the mindset most important? Maybe you could say that. I mean, no particular order. All of these are important. But here's the thing about mindset. I'll tell you this right off the bat. If this is not thinking a certain way, it's very difficult to achieve results. Now, I'll show you one. I'll share one thing that I share with the people in orientation. And what is detrimental and massively detrimental to success and almost always leads to failure. And that is this type of thinking, okay? All or nothing, okay? All or nothing thinking most of the time very rarely gets you all, and most of the time will get you nothing. And I'll give you an example of that, how mindset works in nutrition or even in training. New Year's resolution, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. I gotta get results, this year I'm really doing it, and then you go all in, right? Completely, an exact meal plan, 6 days a week of training, extra cardio, restrict all food, right? Like I'm gonna go lower carb, keto, this, that, the other, right? And as soon as you're not doing that, you fall off. You're like, oh, I failed, I'm a failure. So now, you know what, whatever, man. This week it'll go to shit and I'll start again next week or next month or whatever you tell yourself. And then maybe you do start again, or maybe you wait for another, like, hey, you know what, I'm gonna wait until 2-3 months before summer because that's when I look at it. And then I'm gonna go really all in, right? And you do it again, and for 4 weeks you're doing great, 5 weeks you're doing great, you lose weight, you're feeling awesome, then crazy stuff happens at work, you go on a 3-day trip for work, and you fall off, you go to dinner, everything, and you're like, you crash and burn, you're like, oh fuck, I'm done, I'll start again over. That's all or nothing thinking, and it just doesn't get you anywhere. Our mindset, right, and what we teach is always something. So just give you a little different perspective of how these things matter, and in how we always try to frame things as we're sharing it in our orientation. Always something means, hey, you know what? Things are not ideal, but that's okay. That's okay. You can't, you fell off, so what? This is life, right? What's a better choice that you can make? Hey, you can't go to a Vigor ground for your full, hour training session? Cool, go 20 minutes of hill sprints behind the back. Hey, you got a kettlebell home, you got a bodyweight circuit, that I sent you and you can knock that out, or you have a resource that we've given you that you can do. Not perfect, but always something, right? And so because the thing is, your life is gonna be determined by your average day or your worst day. That's how I look at it. Everybody's best day can be great, but what about your average day? If your average day keeps getting better in those 4 areas, mindset, training, nutrition, recovery, you will succeed, especially over the course of time. So when it comes to training, we start talking about, like, what we'll do on the other side is like show a little bit of our philosophy around training. And remember, as I'm sharing this with the group. Okay, now I'm giving you guys a little bit more insight on certain things, but this is what we're going through, because our orientations are about 1 hour and 15 to 1.5 hours long. That's a good amount of time. Okay, we talk about nutrition. Now, the thing that we talk about nutrition the most is this. Okay, what is one of the most important things? Sustainable, consistent. Okay, the people that have success make the change that is sustainable in your life and they can stay consistent with it. So most of the things that you see nowadays is like, hey, do this for 30 days, do this for 6 weeks, do this for 8 weeks, do this for, whatever amount of time. I'll give you an example of a friend of mine that trains here, is training for 6 years, got great results. He said, hey, listen, Luka, I'm gonna do keto for 8 weeks. Not that I have anything against keto. I don't think it's the best choice for most people, but I said, oh, great. Cool, so like, you're good with not like eating almost any carbs? He's like, no, of course not. Like, of course, I love carbs. I'm just gonna do this for 8 weeks. I'm like, okay. Why do that if you're gonna go back to doing something else? Why not make the changes that you can keep for good? And let's make these changes, consistently and strategically to where you see results, keep the results, and you don't fall off. Now, are there times where, somebody's got, I don't know, a photo shoot, or sometimes we train pro fighters and wrestlers and people that have to make weight classes. That's different. But if most people, I ask them, hey, the result that you want, do you want to keep it for good? 100% of people are like, yeah, of course. Okay, cool. Well, why would you do something that's really drastic that you will not be able to sustain? And so that's how we talk about nutrition. Is like, hey, we have an approach. We're food agnostics. I don't think that a certain way of eating is better. There's just principles. Whole and processed foods, having enough protein with every meal, making sure you're getting your, I would say your veggies and fruits and enough of them, and quality fats, right? Slower, mindful eating, tracking to where you know where you're at, right? And so on and so forth. We have these principles that we stick with, okay? And so we talk about that in the context of all of these different things, and then recovery, which is massive. Recovery, number one, starts with sleep, right? So teaching people about sleep and how important it is, and if you do not get that right, it's gonna make everything else harder. Recovery is also like stress management, which is everything from organizing your time and your days to things like meditation, calming down. Mindset helps you with your recovery because, hey, if you're able to take, I would say, what's going on in your life and kind of flip it around and like you see challenges and opportunities, you're gonna be less stressed, right? So these are all very, very important. So we go over this because now we're setting a frame and going like, hey, listen, we're a transformation gym. And when I say that, I mean transformation gym in the sense of helping you transform for good. Remember what we said, help you build a better body so you can write a better story to your life. Okay, so from there, what we'll do is we'll touch a little bit on our system, okay? So R7, we talk about R7, about how we want to have every training program, and sometimes it's not all in one session, but have this R7. I've talked about this before, so I'll go over this a little faster. But essentially, we want every kind of training session to have, let me take this back. Imagine every week for most people should have this in it. So release, that's your soft tissue work, your foam rolling, your body tempering, your lacrosse balls, your AccuMobility balls, to release that tissue, right? That's wound up. So certain things we want to activate, certain things we want to release. So that's one of the things that everybody does, whether it's large group training or if it's semi-private. They come in, they do their release, and we teach them about this, which is what we also do in our orientations. We take people through soft tissue work. We take them through doing foam rolling and doing lacrosse balls and so on. Number two is a reset. Most of the time that might be a breathing, right? So we teach people how, and you're like, oh, we teach them how to breathe. Yes, breathing brings down a tonality, but also these are exercises that put the joints in the right positions, whether it's using methods like PRI or DNS or FRC, whatever it may be. But imagine that, like, if I'm in a bad position of my joint, no matter what exercise I do, it's not gonna be good for me, right? But if that joint is in a better position, right, now the joints move the way they should move, okay? So that's a reset, and there's different strategies, but breathing is one of them because most people are really wound up, and breathing allows them to bring down that tonality, right? It adapts, it almost resets. Think of the nervous system. This is a little exaggerated, but we're explaining this to them in a format of, once they do their breathing drills, which we'll do with them, once they do their breathing drills, people are like, holy crap, like this that was tight is not tight anymore. So we explain the mechanisms of full exhalation, how if you fully exhale, it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest, right? And so that's really education, like, wow. So we teach them like, hey, in the evening, do box breathing. So that's what we teach. We teach box breathing in orientation. Okay, from there it's readiness. So that's your dynamic warm-up. So you guys have seen me do that many a times in the beginning of group training, with squat to stands, the Spider-Man lunges with rotation, the lizards, the glute activations, the 90-90 shit. Like, right? We're getting the body ready to train. That's why it's readiness. And so in there's 3 goals. Physiological, so warming up the body, core temperature, right? Bringing the core temperature up, getting a little bit of sweat going. You know, the central nervous system, essentially, that's why we'll sometimes you'll see us do like hops and high knees and lateral jumps and things like that. Then it's biomechanical, meaning like, hey, biomechanically, as far as the joints being in the right position, some things we want to mobilize, some things we want to stabilize. Usually, hey, we want to mobilize the hip. We want to activate, stabilize core and glutes, for instance, right? And then specific, hey, if we're going to be sprinting and squatting, we're going to probably do some type of high knees, butt kicks and stuff like that in warm-ups for the sprints. We're going to do actual squats to warm up for the squats. That's going to be specific. Number 4 is reactive. I just said like, hey, everybody's an athlete. So the reactive stuff is speed and agility. It's med ball throws, right, into the walls. It's sprints, it's Olympic lifts, it's kettlebell swings, right? Everybody needs to be reactive and powerful. I don't care if it's, like I said, it's 73-year-old Susan, or if it's, 18-year-old kid going into college to play sports, or if it's, the accountant. It doesn't matter. Now, different levels for sure, but everybody needs this in their life, okay? Now, R5 is resistance. That's our strength training. Getting stronger. Muscle, whether it's tension to get actual stronger or just to build muscle as well. Resilience is our cardio. That's our energy systems, right? We talked about that a little bit earlier. And then R7 is recovery, right? We end training sessions with recovery, right? Calming down so that person doesn't just leave. They want to bring that heart rate down. They want to bring that nervous system down to start recovering as soon as they leave here. Okay, so we'll explain this, and like I said, I said we're kind of co-juling this because I'm not going to do an hour-and-a-half video with you guys, but to remember, we have to create the frame of the understanding of what our systems are, and this is not everything, okay? But I just wanted to show you, and hopefully you get a better idea of like what's something that you should be doing if you're a gym owner, right? Or what you should be looking for as a client. That like there has to be a foundation to the things that when you're stepping into the gym, there has to be a philosophy, there has to be coaching, there has to be quality and excellence so that you stay safe as a client, and like I said, that you're keeping people safe as a coach. And so from there we go into our movement. This is the stuff that we're actually taking them through, okay? This is what we're coaching them up on. So a couple of things that because we only have so much time, we want to make sure that we cover some things, but also not go too, like I said, we don't have 3 hours to do this stuff, right? We have about 75 to 90 minutes. So we do overhead flexion tests. I've shown you this before, right? Overhead flexion test. Can the person in a healthy way get overhead and be able to be in a neutral position, okay? And like I said, we don't have time to go over that, but like, if they can't, we will let them know, hey, when we do any overhead pressing, which we don't do a ton of, you will be doing a core trainer press, or you will be doing a yoga push-up, right? They'll be doing something that fits their range of motion, but they won't be going overhead because they can't do that yet, okay? Then we do sideline windmill on the floor, which is pretty much this drill right here, right? I'm gonna do this real quick, but can they get that extension and rotation in their upper back? Same thing, we're gonna look at that because that's gonna determine also some of their drills. Hip internal, external rotation. Sometimes we'll skip that based on time. And then ankle mobility, right? Because this is the main part, right? This is the main part. This is like a foundational thing. So this is the drills that we'll take them through. And we'll spend a lot of time coaching these. So our kettlebell goblet squat, a kettlebell deadlift, a push-up, a TRX roll, and a 90-90 static lunge. Those are somewhat basic, like, those cover a lot of the main movement patterns, and we coach the crap out of them. Okay, we're not talking about like, okay, cool, do a deadlift. No, like if we, like, give you an example, on Wednesday, we had 4 people in our in our orientation, and all of them lined up, and so I would take one of our interns' assistants and take them through the exact lift. And then we'd set them up, and I'd coach every single person on the position. And then from there, I'd say, okay, up, and everybody come up at the same time. Okay, back down. And then we'd coach each person up until they didn't, like we'd do only about 6 reps per set, break it down and do another one until they had really good reps. And put it this way, they were quality reps, quality enough. Now, of course, we're gonna always coach it up, but they're quality enough. And then we went the same process with the squat. We went the same process with the push-up, same process with the row. And we also explained, hey, when you can't do this, here's what you're gonna do. right? And then we coach that up. So for instance, push-up, either a regression, whether it was onto the barbell or to the knees. If they couldn't do that, they were just doing a static hold. Great static hold. And you know what? We're like, hey, look, when you're in team training, we're in our group training, this is what you're gonna be doing. This is your level. This is what you're gonna be doing, and then we're gonna progress you. So they understand, they feel safe going into the groups, going like, I'm like, hey, listen, this is something right now we're not gonna be doing, but here's what you're gonna be doing. Right? So now they understand it, they position, hey, if this becomes hard, we're gonna do this, okay? So we go through all these lifts first in the coaching format, right? Which this will probably take about 30 minutes, I would say, out of that, okay? Now from there, we're gonna put them into a mini workout. It's gonna take about 8 minutes, 6 to 8 minutes, like not long. And we tell them like, hey, this is about a third of the actual training session, right? After warm-ups, or a quarter of it. But what it does is, I wanna put them through it so they feel it and see it, and we coach the crap out of the lifts. If they start getting fatigued and the form starts breaking down, we coach them up. If they can't maintain, we tell them to stop. Hey, listen, never feel bad. Never feel bad if you can't complete the 30-second or 45-second set. Put it down, breathe. You're okay, you're winning. You're here, you're getting better. If you gotta end the workout early, that's okay. Relax, go on foam roll, breathe. You're winning. If the goal is for you to keep getting better every week. So just creating that frame now allows that person to not feel bad and feel judging themselves on the fact that maybe something they didn't complete, because I create a frame around it. Hey, if you keep showing up in a month, you'll be able to do that whole workout, right? And you'll be getting better. Month by month too, you'll be able to progress to the next variation. So, but the thing is, once again, you gotta coach the crap out of it. If you guys seen any of our classes, like we coach the crap out of it, right? And from there, we'll finish off, like after they do their mini workout, like everybody's high-fiving, like we're making sure that the atmosphere is always a coaching atmosphere, enthusiastic, there's energy. From there, I'm gonna break down the structure of the system and go like, hey, listen guys, here's our system, okay? Team training, now depending on what they're doing, whether they're there for a trial, they're there for something else, I'm gonna go over like, in team training, here's the things that we have, the different classes. There's mobility, and I explain how mobility fits into joint health and how important that is. And everybody should do it at least once a week, but preferably twice, the whole class. From there, we have intervals, right? So it's a team training that's interval-based, time intervals, 45 on, 50, 15 off, 30, 30, 60, 15, 15, 30, right? Depending on, like I said, our programming and where we're going with it. Density sets, which is gonna be time sets. These are gonna be more oriented towards time under tension, right? I've talked about this before. And then our warrior classes add some velocity, meaning there's prowler sprints, real sprints, agility work combined into circuits, right? So we still get that R4 reactive that we talked about, okay? And like I said, we're breaking all this down and explaining how it matters. Then there's small group personal training, where we have strength camp for guys, stronger for women. And then we also have mixed groups. So like for instance, I coach a small group personal training 3 times a week, those are all mixed. Martha trains in the mornings, those are mixed. But we explain how this fits. So if they say, hey, I'm here for the 30-day trial, and I'm like, okay, cool, you get access to this. This is how your week would look like. And we tell them about the 212 method, which I mentioned before, right? Our 212 method that's the foundation that I'd love for everybody to do, and we tell them. So the 212 method is like 2 times a week, some form of strength. So it could be a small group, it could be semi-private. 2 times a week is team training, at least. So that's our metabolic resistance training, which is more obviously conditioning oriented, right? And then 1 time a week is mobility. So am I saying that everybody should do just that, or everybody should do all that? This is a solid foundation. The 212 method, most people can do it for life. What I mean by that, that's 5 training sessions a week, which average about an hour or less. You're looking at 4.5 to 5 hours max. So if you can dedicate 5 hours a week to your fitness, you'll have a phenomenal, I would say, fitness level, and you can do this for life, right? It's not 12 hours a week or 10 hours a week or wherever it may be. So that's the 212 method, and we explain that. And so we have team training or small group and then semi-private, which is obviously customized nutrition, customized nutrition and actual nutrition coaching, where whole staff is precision nutrition certified. And then also a custom program based on an assessment that we did, as well as obviously I don't want to say aggressive, but accountability and access that's a lot more, I would say, detailed and connected. So at the end of this, we will break down the schedule and everything else, and schedule everybody into their strategy sessions or whichever realm they're going into based on their trial, and then go from there. And like I said, I mean, I'll be straight up honest that like I'm not the greatest at keeping things on time because I love to over deliver and coach the crap out of it. So sometimes this will go now 45, and at the end there's always like Q&A, and the Q&A will, you know, sometimes take 10 minutes, sometimes it'll be 30 minutes. I don't care. I'll answer all the questions necessary so that people feel very, very confident and comfortable. And you know, the feedback that we get is that like that was the most insightful 90 minutes of anything that they've heard about fitness. But once again, this positions what we're about and how everything's going to look like, because the number one thing you have to do is make people feel safe. Like, what are they going to get into? How are things going to look like? And so I tell them at the end, I say, hey guys, there's a secret to success. And like Dan John mentioned this, right? There's like these 3 things. If you do them, you'll do phenomenal here. Not only in the next 30 days, but all the time while you're here, and you'll be very, very successful when you get to your goals. Number 1, show up, right? If you show up, you'll do great, because once you show up, the energy will take over. People coach you. You'll get high-fived by the coaches, the clients, everybody. The atmosphere is great. Number 2, don't quit. Now, don't quit, what I mean by that is just don't stop. Be consistent. I'm not saying like, hey, look, if your form is failing, that's fine. Quit during that set, right? Step back, that's a good idea. But I'm saying don't quit. Like, continue to come. Show up and continue showing up, and don't quit. Even if we talked about the all or nothing or always something, keep showing up and don't quit on your process of achieving your goal. And number 3, ask questions. And that's, I always say, hey, listen, this is the one that people do not do because they feel ashamed or embarrassed or like that they're going to get persecuted for asking a question. Like, oh, I don't know this, I shouldn't ask this. And I'm like, that's the most powerful one. All the coaches, whether you email us, messages, especially when you're here too, ask us questions. If something you're not sure about or something's bugging you or you got a trip, always ask us questions. When you do those 3 things, like, you'll be successful, okay? And so that's a little bit of an insight to our orientation. I mean, like I said, as deep as I can go in this time frame, but this is twofold, okay? Twofold. 1, to show you somewhat behind the scenes of how we do stuff. For anybody that's interested in Vigor, you'll see kind of what we'll go through with this. Number 2 is for any coach that like, hey, if you're running groups, you should have an orientation, period. People should not start before doing this. It's unethical, I believe, right? A period. Like, and it's also, how can you make it better? We're always looking like, how can we make it better? Was that good enough? Do we need? How do we upgrade it? How do we upgrade it? Okay. And like this is again a system for I would push and challenge anybody in fitness to make sure that for the client that they're safe, they're educated, they know exactly what the process is going to be. Remember, uncertainty creates anxiety. Uncertainty creates anxiety. So you want to create certainty behind the process and what's going to happen, and also, why do you do what you do? How do you do what you do? And what is it that you do? Okay? And then make sure you answer all those questions. So I hope that this helped out a lot and gave you a lot of insight. As always, I love the feedback. Like, a lot of these I'm doing because I hear it from you guys. And to just know what more do you want to see of, and we'll do more of the vlogs and Vigor Life stuff in association with that. Love and appreciate you guys. Peace out.